All right, good afternoon. My name is Siva Kakaturi from Civic Solutions Group. Our next session is going to be on the systems, SBAP systems that we're using for Pennsylvania. That's once this, it takes a second to come up. But before I start, I want to thank everyone for the challenging year we had with the transition, went through all of that. It's a great partnership we had with you all, the state, the SSG, all of us worked together, and it's been a really good year. You know, we hit our numbers, everything looking good. So again, I want to really thank you for all your efforts and, trying to keep up with us. And, we had some conversations, made a lot of good friends, all of the good things. So anyway, this is the agenda for this session. We'll go through, I'll be switching between the PowerPoint and the systems so as we go along. So just want to keep going back and forth. So I just put a overview together so everything is in one place. So basically we have the policy coming from DHS, the RMTS, there's a direct service claiming, yearly cost settlement, and then the quarterly MAC claiming. And then on top of it, oversight and monitoring. So that gives you the full picture of the SBAP in terms of the program. So if I overlay that with the systems, let me just do this. Yeah, there. So if I just overlay that with the systems, so we have the main site that kind of puts everything together, which I'll go through in just a second. That's the PA SBAP site. It's like a consolidated site with all the documentation, a lot of the policy, et cetera. And then you can go in from that site into other sites. There's really two other systems that we use. For the RMTS, it's e-SivicMACS. For the direct service, it's MAXCapture. And for the yearly cost reporting, it's e-SivicMACS. We had two sites. The site that was being used before for last year, it kind of sunsets. And then we have the new site. Everything is in one place now. So that's what the same thing. So it's the same system that you do the MAC claiming as well, and then the oversight monitoring. So it's really, all you need to remember is that main site, pasbap.ssghosting.com. If anyone new comes into your district, that's all they need to know. From there, they can go into other sites. That's exactly how the site looks. And you can see all the other sites you can access from in place. All right, so I'll just run through. I'm not going to go into detail of each of the systems because this is more of an overview. You can attend trainings that we offer continuously if you need really hands-on, detailed functionality of these systems. Also, there's other sessions between today and tomorrow that our folks will go through some more reports, et cetera. But I want to give you an overall view of these systems and see what they do. So if you take direct services, for example, MAXCapture system, once you go into it, what are you doing? You're basically enrolling the students or adding them into the system. And then you're doing parental consents, IEPs, MEDOTs, all related to the student. And then obviously the other side is your therapist. You're adding therapists to the system, and then they can enter their licenses and they can start providing services, maintain their own rosters, provide services. And then if there needs to be approval of the service because they don't have a license, that functionality is built into MAXCapture as well. And then you can generate reports, analyze them, do all of those things. If you have external systems, we have templates. You can download the data from external systems, upload them back into MAXCapture. that's fine as well. And then we have reports that consolidates all of those services together and go through and give you all the detail. So that's the service part. From there, we actually pull these services on a schedule basis. All the schedules are posted on the SBAP site. I'll show you that in just a second. And then we basically, as per the rules of the SBAP program, we process the services, create them as claims, valid claims we call, and then submit to Medicaid for reimbursement. And that's the process. So once that's done, we get a remittance advice is what we call. Some of you may or may not heard that term. The remittance advice comes in 2 weeks later. We process that and basically tell you which of the claims got paid and which of the claims got denied for what reason, and we give you all that data, right? So that's the full life cycle of a direct service that happens in the SBAP program, right? So let me, I don't want to go, I mean, the next slide is basically the RMTS, the other pieces, but let me go, I'll go out of this and go into the system and show you a quick overview. I can't get out of the PowerPoint.
Just need him to just sit still.
The escape doesn't work. No, that
No,
goes. Oh, I had to.
You have to stop share height and then reshare.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Follow?
Got it. Got it.
Yep. And once you bring it up, see the reshare.
Okay. Okay, so folks on the virtual session should be able to see my screen now because I just switched it back to the site. So the site actually is pasbap.ssthosting.com. If you go into this site, you know, you're all used to seeing just the systems. Now we posted a lot more information there. So you can see the direct service claim schedule, RMTS schedule for the entire year, and contact information, and more things are coming, like program updates. All the bulletins that you get in emails. If you say, I can go back and look at those emails, we're posting all of those bulletins in this place. So this is going to be the site for you to go and look for information. Anything that you missed an email or you're not sure about, so you can see how to do credentialing and supervision. You know, all of these things, as the program guidance is there, so we're posting all of those in one place. So you have document library where we have all the provider logs. I mean, this is also on the DHS website, but it's just, we're trying to make it one nice place so you don't have to keep searching for different things, right? And then we can go back to the home and you can go into any of the systems. So let me go into MAXCapture. All right, so this is what I was talking, right? So the path is basically go to the master data. You can create users, that's basically maintain users. The path is creating a student first, right? You can just go into a student, you can add a student, go through the process, and everything related to the student is right here. IEPs, MedOts, initial evals, parental consent, all in one menu. So once that portion is done, then you're in the provider. So again, for the provider, related information here, and then the location, licensing is right here. This is critical. If the licensing is incorrect, as you know, the services will not become claims. So this is a critical piece. Again, for the student, if I go into IEP, we're looking for the dates. The screen underneath it, this is optional. You can complete this screen, but it's optional. Then MedAuth services, parental consent, all of these screens, right? And as a provider, you can go into maintain provider rosters. You can maintain their own, they can maintain their own rosters, or you can do it for them. You can also enter services for them. So service capture, you're basically picking a student, or if you want to enter services on behalf of a provider, just go to the search. Only limited people have access to this on behalf of, only the coordinators do. The providers don't even get this option. So you can basically change who the provider is, and you can start entering services. It's very useful for mainly transportation because your bus drivers are not entering these services. So that's a very nice, useful feature there. You can do single entry, add service. It's a simple thing. Again, I don't want to go through and providing training here. I just want to go through the overview of the system, and then other sessions, or you can attend detailed training if you need to. Multiple service entry is another option that you have, where you can select multiple students and enter the service if it's a group therapy session, or if it's a transportation, you can do for one student multiple days. So that's another nice feature we have in the system, right? And then the other place is the file transfer. So if you're uploading from another system, you can do uploads from here, upload services and the master data, and then uploads. Again, we changed. I'll go through the enhancements, what we did, but here is how you upload different things from another system. And then services, you upload from this screen. You can do immediate uploads, which is up to 100 services. If you want to do more than that, you can do overnight. You can do 100 services for each file, and it will go through immediately and process them. Now, the biggest thing is the reports. We have the exception reports. Like I said, the services get swept once a month for different districts. There's a schedule. Again, you can look at the schedule. And then we process, and we tell you which ones didn't even make it to the claim. You have 1,000 services, only 700 of them may become claims. Other 300, we actually either suspended them or denied them for whatever the reason is. Most of the reasons, as we did a quick analysis for the entire state, the most reason that services are suspended is the MedAuth. 18% of services are suspended for MedAuth not having a MedAuth. So that's the biggest reason in the state. The second biggest reason is, I think, at around 10% not having an IEP. So those are the two big ones. And that's what Sherry will go through in tomorrow's, if you find it, how do I go through it and resolve it? So that's one of the sessions you'll see tomorrow. So that's the service exception report. So you can click on it, you can download it. Again, all these reports are Excel. You can clearly sort, you can do anything you want with it, filter. And then the management reports. So you have all the management reports. We used to have 6 of them. We added the 7th one, which is the FAI payments, which kind of coincides with what PD is doing with their FAI accounts. It's all the transactions. We don't have the starting balance, so don't come back and ask me, oh, my balance doesn't tie out. You're seeing the transactions for the month, absolutely. And then your accountants can look at it and say, oh yeah, it's balancing out, right? But it's a very useful report if you want to look, all the payments you received, anything you requested from PDE to get the cash, all of that is in there. 108 report, I'm taking my own thunder into the next screens. See, 108 report is a brand new report that we're releasing this Saturday. It's a paid claims. A lot of you have been asking for it. So we are giving it to the entire state, not just one LEA. So you will have 1 month of paid claims with the detail. But you have to download that report and store it yourself. It's 1 month at a time. So we are not giving you the entire year. That'll be like millions of records. And that's not right. So even to download and store. So every month you can download and keep it in your securely, because there is PII information on these files. So that's why we're being very careful with that report. So make sure you protect those files wherever you store them on your network locally. Be very, very careful with it, because it's all the personal identified information for the kids. Yeah, you got to be careful. So, but you can store them for the entire year. You can combine those Excel files. You can run reports, filter them, do all of those things. Okay. So I can show you, I guess, since I'm here, I can show you what the report looks like. All the other reports you're already familiar with. I don't need to go through each one. This is a brand new. It hasn't come out. It's going to come out this Saturday, like I said. So you can see the district code, student ID, last name, first name, service date, service type, paid amount, and when it was paid, the RA date, and the responsible district. We are giving you the responsible district if you need to filter out, if you need to do anything with that. And then our control number. Yes, this is not Medicaid control number. This is SSG's internal control number. So if you ever have a question, if you send this number in an email, don't send all the information. If you just send that number, we can pull up the kit and tell you what happened with that particular claim. Because this way you're trying to avoid all the PII sending in these emails. It's not a good thing to do. So that is a key number for us. So if you send it to PA support, our email address, we can tell you, why this much amount was paid and what happened. Okay, so this is a very useful, this is just a sample. It's not real data too. So just so you know, this is exactly how it'll look. For, obviously larger districts, you'll have huge amounts of data, all the claims in that month, and it's by date paid. And one other thing I will point out here is if you add up these paid amounts, if you just total them up, it will line up with the 101 report. So if I go to 101, all right. So if I look at it, January 24, if you take this net paid and add up the D, E, and F, all three columns, net paid, positive adjustments, and negative adjustments, that total number will exactly line up with 108. So just so you all know, I'm giving you the inside scoop and basically saying, here is how you can cross-check us, you can yell at us, scream at us, that's fine. But it will add up, I promise. Only thing it won't add up is the other adjustments. So let me tell you what is other adjustments on this 101 report or any other reports. All the other reports have other adjustments. Other adjustments are we don't have the backup claim related to it. It could be from prior claims that BPI basically, voided during their audit. So we don't have any history behind it. So we had to keep that money somewhere because everything has to line up to the penny. So that's what that other adjustments is. So if anyone is wondering what the other adjustments and the claim positive and negative is, that's the difference. Claim positive and negative, those two columns, we have the backup claim behind it. So it's most probably the rebills. So if you say, oh, I want to void this claim, great. That's the columns it's going to come up. There's a student ID on it. There's a student ID. So you should be fine. Yeah. So the question is on the 108, is there any other identifying information for the student because there's 4 or 5 John Smiths? So my answer is yes, the student ID is right on your PA Secure ID. Your student ID is your PA Secure ID. So it's right on the report. So that's your key identifier. All right. So that's close these. Okay. So, and then you have a whole bunch of reports, which I'm not going to go through each one of these. Again, there is a session dedicated to reports that, we're going to be talking about RMTS report, MAXCapture reports in depth. Okay. So that's the entire overview of MAXCapture. Now, let me go back. See if I can get, okay. So can you guys still see the sharing, the PowerPoint? Awesome. Okay, great. So now we're done with the MAXCapture. Now, random movement time study, there's a great session with Davin, Paula, and Becky this morning. Just adding on to that, again, you go to this site, you go to e-SivicMACS, and you do the maintain participants for the next quarter. So that's basically you're getting ready for the next quarter right after, so let's say October. Once we are done and open the quarter, usually immediately, maybe in a week, then you're ready to start making changes for the following quarter, which is the next quarter coming up. And you have the whole entire time. So for example, you have HR sends you saying, Mary Smith is replaced by Susie. You can change in the current quarter with the replacement functionality, and then go into this maintain participant and change it right there, because it's not impacting your current quarter, it's getting for the next quarter, right? So as you go along, you can maintain these participants using that functionality. I'll go through that as well in a second. And then within the quarter, if you have replacements, you use the maintain sample participant, and then you can manage that as well. Review response reports, and then follow up on no responses. That's the key things you can do in a time study. Maintaining your participants accurately, making sure your responses are coming through timely and accurately from your participants, and then keeping track of where their replacements, who's changing, what's going on. That's pretty much all you need to do in a RMTS, strictly RMTS. And then obviously you have the cost reporting after that, right? So that's basically what the next things are. Once you have that quarter completed, Becky is going to go through her magic, and you can see where the numbers stand and where the codes came through. And then you're ready for entering your costs for the quarter. Again, it's a quarterly. We're doing the administrative claim for the quarter. You get your money for that admin claim. And then again, it's the similar thing. It's the same system. You go in, you will see exactly those participants that were in the sample. You can enter the cost for them. And once you're done with the cost, again, there's a schedule posted for the entire year. So you can look at that and plan all the things. If you're going to be on vacation, you can plan way ahead of time and be ready for the quarter coming up. Or this cost data coming up, hand it off to your finance folks and say, we really need this done. And you can do that anytime. you don't have to wait for our email to come to you and say, oh, it's ready for entering cost data. During the quarter, you can do, usually during the quarter, the numbers may not be exact, but for, let's say, January to March quarter, by end of March, you pretty much, the finance folks have the numbers, because it's the not the accrual based, it's the actual cost based. So by 31st of March, if you don't have the cost recorded, you can't go into that it can't go into that quarter. It has to go into the next quarter. So that's why you can start planning a lot of these things yourself. And then respond to any desk review. We do the desk review after you're done. We run through our analysis and say, yeah, you must have did a typo or you missed something. It's a normal thing. It's nothing wrong with it. And then you can say, oh, oops, we made a mistake. Had an extra zero in there. Take it out. No big deal. But that's just the review process we go through. And then once it's done, we generate the claim, quarterly claim, and send it back to you for uploading the CPE forms. So that's the entire process where you get the quarterly money, right? You're getting from the direct service continuously throughout the year, every 2 weeks, every month. And then quarterly, you're getting the administrative money through this process. And then lastly, at the end of the year, we are reconciling all the direct service claims that you have done throughout the year. And if there is money that's still left over on the table because your costs were high, you'll get that. If not, we'll take it back, right? One way or the other. So it could go either way. That's why the accuracy of data is critical, and recording the services, because we do the rates based on your prior year's cost settlement. So the rates could vary. It's not for the entire state. It's not one rate. Every district has their own rate. So only time you would end up paying back, I don't know, only time, but most of the time you end up paying back is because your rates were arbitrarily high. And system doesn't know. We don't know. Only you guys know. So if that happens, we're paying these interim claims at a very high rate. And then it comes to the end of the year and say, oops, oh, we didn't really spend that money. So you end up paying back. So you really want to be careful in how you're doing the whole process. So everything ties together at the end of the year through this cost settlement. And that's why it's so critical. And obviously, Shannon is going to come in the back end on the oversight monitoring and saying, okay, let's see what you have done. So that's basically, putting the whole picture in place. All right, so let me go back and go back into the RMTS, log out of the MAXCapture. I'm going to go into my test site. You would normally hit on that second button on the PASBAP side, but I don't want to show you the real data. All right, so this is what we were talking earlier. All right, so in the participant data, so you can do maintain participant, right? See, this is where you're doing for the coming up quarter. So you can basically add here. I don't know if you're seeing it, but there's an add button here. You can add, you can make changes. If the positions change or emails change, all of that. This is impacting your next quarter. If you want to do current quarter, I want to replace, then go into participant data, maintain sample participant. So if I take this person and I click on can click on this because it's the recording is coming through. Let's see. Oh, okay, because the recording is blocking me.
Zoom and change the closed captioning, but maybe can
Yes.
you make the whole window a little smaller?
Yeah,
And then
yeah, maybe I'll just pull it up. Yeah, there.
let me try something.
Yeah, I think that'll work. I can do that. No, yeah, make it smaller and then we can. Yeah, there. And then we can pull it there. Yep. We can pull it down.
Again.
That's good. We can. Oh, there. That's good. That's good. That's good. I can work. Thank you. Thank you, Devin. So you can see on the maintain sample participant, you can see the edit button. There's two things, right? I mean, you can do, if you do the edit, as you can see, you cannot change some of the things. You cannot change the names. You can only change email addresses, your contacts, supervisors, etc. Right? But if let me cancel that. And I'm going to do a replace. If I do the replace, now system is going to allow me to change the name, put in a replacement date. And that is exactly what you should do. If there is a replacement, Mary Smith is replaced with Susie, you want to go into maintain sample participant, do the replace, change the name, change the email address if that's changed, and put in the replacement date. The beauty of this is when you do the admin claim cost reporting or even the end of the year cost settlement, all of that data flows through. And you can see, oh, Mary was only here for 4 weeks. After that, Susie picked up. So you can take the costs accordingly and enter into the cost report. Okay. So this is, I'm sure some of you are already doing this, but I'm just summarizing all of it. So, and then you see here different reports. I mean, all the admin claim is all here, the cost data, you can. Yeah, so you go through all of these. You can upload the salaries, benefits, district-wide costs, all of that information is right here. Everything flows through into the other screen. And then you have the reports. So for RMTS, we were talking earlier about response reports. This is what you can do. No response. I mean, obviously, I won't have any data. This is a test system. If I go back, it'll say no data found. But if there was a moment and your participant did not respond, you will get that in this report. And it's real time. As soon as they complete the response, it'll go out of this report. So that is a really nice report with the 2-day thing that we've been talking all morning. So this is going to be your best savior for going through. Another nice thing you can also do, response summary by date. This is another really nice report. What this tells you is exactly what you want to know. See if you can see how many of your moments got responded within 24 hours, within 48 hours, or more than 48 hours. In the next few quarters, this is exactly what you want to run and monitor yourself. You don't need anyone else to tell you. You could just run this report, RR 442, and you can see how many of my people are responding within 20 or 48 hours, right? That's going to be the norm going forward. So you want, that's your target. You want to basically go and run this report and see what's going on. If there's any stragglers that are not responding with the time frame, you may want to do some trainings. You may want to do different things So you have time to recover. So this is a nice soft implementation we're doing. So you get the time to say, okay, all my folks are in compliance with the 48 hours. And we're going to be monitoring that at the state level as well, and just tell you, here is the percentage and here is how things are looking. If you haven't run the quarter sample compliance, that's another nice report. This is a newer report. It's not new, but it's been there. So if you run this report, I'll show you how it looks. This is another thing. If you don't want to get that CAP memo from Devin, this is the report you want. So you can run this report, and it shows you by cost pool, and it tells you where your compliance is today. In this case, this is not a very good example here. You had 2 movements in the whole quarter. Two movements already happened, and you responded fantastic. You had 100%. Let's say you had 5 movements in the quarter, and 3 of them happened, and you didn't respond to 1 of them. Now your response rate is at 66%, right? The last 2 columns, what it's showing is, for the other 2 movements, if you respond promptly 100%, then it calculates and tells you on the last column where you would be at the end of the quarter. That's exactly what this report is doing. So if you haven't used this report, this is a really nice report. It's more of a projection. So, sometimes things may happen and you may miss a moment, but later on you say, by end of the quarter, I can catch up. No big deal. So that is what this report is really useful for. All right. Again, we were talking about activity summary earlier, so that is another nice report you can also run. And this is what the activity codes are showing up. So if this was like Devin was talking about 11, 10, all those codes, I mean, you know what each one of them mean. They're all in the handbook. It's very clearly spelled out. So you get that level of detail from your LEAs movements, exactly where does the code stand is what this report is showing. So there's a wealth of information. If you want to play around with the reports and run them, use it to your advantage. I mean, that's what all these reports are. And if you have any questions, reach out to your liaison, reach out to Paula. We're happy to give you exactly what it means. Okay? So that's all right. Now back. Now that is the current year systems where we are. Now I want to show you when basically I say we just barely stood up this year. Now we're about ready to run, right? We're getting ready for the next year. It's going to be a lot more regular, scheduled, planned, everything. And it's anything that you have, suggestions, we are open to working with you and making it better, right? Now we got it working. Now we can make it better as we go forward. That's the whole point. Which, working with you all, heard you all, gave us great suggestions in the coffee hour sessions and emails and all of those. We took all of those, working with DHS. We did some enhancements which we thought would benefit the entire state this year within the e-schedule. I mean, we got through, like I said, we got through TPL issues resolved. We got through the 180 days, thanks to Jennifer and the team, we got a couple weeks where we were able to submit those claims and get paid. All of those things were resolved. So 23-24 is pretty much done. I mean, there's still 6 more months you can enter services, but up to this point, we basically have $52 million of direct service claims paid, which is fantastic. I mean, that's pretty much in line with what the state has been doing in the past. So again, so things are moving in the right direction. So what we have done, improvements for the 24-25, we're giving you all the operational things that can help you all, plan better, do things, much more ahead of time through this PA SBAP site. So I just showed you that. And this is exactly where you'll have more and more documents posted there. Any guidance coming from DHS will post, for example, parental consent. We just talked about this morning. We can create a one-pager and post it there. So you don't have to look on all the emails and say, oh, I lost that email. So that's the whole idea behind it, is one central place where you can go look at all of the different things. Which I just went through all of these earlier. Now, in the participant replacement date, I mean, this is another enhancement we did actually earlier. Replacement date, I just showed you. Compliance report, I guess I was ahead of myself instead of going through the PowerPoint. There were 2 new positions that were added: autism support staff and developmental delay support. Again, all these positions, jobs were streamlined and made it, universal for the entire state, which makes it so much easier when there is a federal audit. CMS comes for an audit, we're like just, 10 or 15 jobs we look at. It's not like hundreds of them, like in the past. Now, I want to give you a few clarifications. I know we've been getting a lot of these questions. When we do the claiming, the combining of services is, we do combine services. Just so everyone know, I mean, I got the question, are you combining service? Yes, we are. So for example, John Smith gets a service at 10 o'clock today. And then there was a makeup service done at 3 o'clock. No issue. As long as those 2 services are entered correctly or uploaded into MAXCapture, we are combining those and converting them into number of units. So it could be 30 minutes in 10 o'clock, another 30 minutes at 3 p.m. That's going to end up as 4 units for that day. So we are combining them based on student, date of service, service type, service code. Again, if it's a group or individual, we don't combine them, right? It's only by the same type service code. And the place of service. This is another question. Actually, I just responded, I think, a few weeks back. Place of service is a factor in the combining of services. So for example, if the morning service in my example was done at school and the afternoon service was done at home or somewhere else, that's what they recorded. Those 2 will not be combined, just so you know. Okay, so that was the question that's coming up. So, and one other point I also want to make for the combining of services is, if the 10 o'clock and the 3 o'clock were entered at the same time, and when we sweep, that's the kicker, right? The sweep date, check for the sweep date. So if those 2 services were entered by the time we do the sweep and process the claims, we will combine them. If one person entered at 10 o'clock and the next provider that provided service at 3 did not enter for, let's say, a couple months, sorry, you lost the other service, because this first service already went through to Medicaid, you got paid. So we can't really do much, because even if we submit to Medicaid, they will deny. So we are actually stopping it up front, saying there is no reason for us to submit that claim. Okay, so I want to make sure everyone is clear on it. If there's any questions, I can address. And then another change we did is exact duplicate service. If you have the therapist entered twice, oh, I didn't know, I just entered the same exact service twice. No problem. We are taking one of them and denying the other. So no big deal. That is absolutely no problem. Overlapping of service based on, again, the student, service type, service code, date of service, and overlapping time. So if I entered the service 10 to 10:30, if I enter another service 10 to 10:30, that's fine. One of the service will go through. If I entered the next service 10:01 to 10:31, both will be rejected. So be careful with that. So therapists, if they're not sure, oh, I'm going to enter at 10 to 10:30 of one therapy session, and I'm going to, I forgot, now I'm going to do 10:01 to 10:31. That's a problem. So you're going to lose both of them. So you'll get that back in your exception report, and you can figure out and say, oh, they made a mistake. You can re-enter, no big deal. But it's extra work, right? Why create the extra work? So let's do it right. All right. Now, in the service entry screen, this is one thing I haven't shown. So these are all the enhancements we did in the, this was released on August 31st. Some of you may already seen some of it. It's already in production. All these changes I'm just talking about. On the service entry screen for providers that does not have a license, and you need to do the approval. So you can put the notes, but you'd have to run a report before to see those notes. Now we have it right on the screen. The provider can log in, and I'll show you in a second. They can see the supervisor note saying, oh, I need better comments. Do the better comments, I'll approve it. So that they can see it right away, right? So that is one enhancement. And also providers can see the MedAuth for the license they have. So for example, if a student has speech, OT, PT, all of those in their MedAuth, if I'm a speech therapist, I will only see the speech MedAuth. That's it. I won't see others. So there is a button now on the screen that they can click and see the MedAuth. Again, this is a suggestion came from you all. I mean, that was a fantastic one. So that's exactly why we did it. It's a useful thing. On the IEP screen, we added the quarterly dropdown in addition to what was there before. And then MedAuth screens, I'll show you all of these in the system in just a second. The MedAuth screens, we removed the header date. I guess it's easier to show on the screen. We removed the auto population. It was doing 12 months, and you're like, no, that never works because it's not exactly 12 months because it has to line up with the IEP. So we're like, why populate it? So we're not populating the end date anymore on the MedAuth screen if you go into it. So you would have to actually put in the end date. And then if you change it, the second bullet, I'll give you a scenario and explain where that's helpful. So let's say IEP and the MedAuth ends on May 31st, but you obviously did the IEP ahead of time, and now you have a new MedAuth that's effective April 30th. So you're a month ahead, right? So today, you basically have to go into the old MedAuth, change the dates of the services, change the dates in the header to 4/30, and then you could do a new MedAuth, right? Otherwise, it would give you overlap error. So what we have done is, if you go into the MedAuth screen and change the header date, there's a new button there. If you click the button, it'll update all of the 531 dates into 4/30. I'll show you that in a second. It just helps you a lot of clicks. And that's basically what that is. Okay. So that I'll show you each one of these. Upload service limits, again, based on your request. Per day, you can go up to 15 files for immediate processing with 100 services each. And overnight, we increased to 5 files. In the past, it was 3. So 5 files of 3,000 services per file. Or no, I guess other way around. 5 files with 2,000, now it's 5 files with 3,000. There's the service detail report. We increased it from 3 months to, it'll give you 3 months of data. It was 1 month before. So now we increased that to 3 months of data if you don't enter the provider and the student. And then if you just, with at least one of them entered, it's 6 months. Okay. Bunch of the reports, the IEP MedAuth reports, we added the student name. We were just giving you the student ID. So we're also giving you the student name. It's easier to see in the Excel. So few minor things on the management report screen because there was some confusion about the terminology. So we made it clear saying it's a generated date and the process month. Because there's a delay, right? I mean, we're basically posting management reports on the 21st, but all those reports are for August. So that's what it makes it really clear. This is for August month. So you can clearly see, oh, okay, this was generated on September 21st, but the data is for August. So I already talked about the 107 and 108. All right. As of October 1, I guess maybe I should go. I'll come back to that. Let me jump back into the system. I'll show you all of the ones we just talked about. Okay. So I'm going to log out. The first one, oh, actually, I'm going to log in as a provider. All right, I get my book here. Hit the password. All right. So what I want to show is I just logged in as a provider. If I go into data entry service capture, I'm a provider with no license. I need the approval, right? So I'm looking at Justin Adamson. There is a service. So if you look at here, there is the supervisor notes. So the supervisor notes, this was not there before. So what I did is I went to the approval screen. The therapist just said good progress. As a supervisor, I went in and said, need more details on progress notes. So they can actually see it on the screen. Now they can say, oh, that's why they didn't approve it. Now I can go put in more notes, and then they can go back and approve it, right? So this is a new enhancement we just released August 31st. So this is very, very, very helpful. Now, other thing I want to do is, Okay, so if I click on the student, you already had the view IEP before. If I click on view MedAuth, so you can see this is the MedAuth because I'm a speech language therapist. You can see all the MedAuth related detail in the screen. Okay, so that's basically what this one is showing. Okay, these are the two new things for the providers. Now let me log out. I'll show you the others. Okay, so if I go into student, right? So if I go into the IEP screen, now you can see there is a quarterly that was not there before. And that quarterly, if you pick the quarterly, we are doing the math on, there is a report actual to authorized to serve actuals report. We are doing the math correctly based on what we got from DHS and calculating and giving you the right number there. Okay, so that's IEP. So MedAuth service, this is exactly my scenario earlier. Let's just say we'll go into it. Now you can see there's the end date is 3/4/25. Now all of these services have an end date of 3/4/25, right? Now if I want to change it to February 28th, that's when we got the new IEP done, and I want to update. So before August, you had to change this date. You had to change each one of these dates. Now you don't need to do that. Change the header date, update for active services. See what happens? It automatically changes all of the dates. So that's a very nice, useful feature. So you don't have to do 4 clicks. With 1 click, it changes. Only caveat there is if one of these services, let's say, already ended on January 31st, it will not touch that record. It will only touch the ones that are ending after the February 28th, which makes sense, right? I mean, if it's a service already ended, why bother changing it? Okay. So any questions we can answer on that. So that is one of the big changes here. And then when you upload as well, that's a different thing. If you're doing uploads of the IEPs, if you change all of these dates, we are automatically updating this header end date through the upload process, the other way around. So you always put in all the service dates, and we're calculating and putting the end date. Okay, so that's that. Let's see, let me go back. So we got the MedAuth screen, we covered, IEP covered, files. Okay, combined report. Yep, okay, we're almost there. So on the provided service detail combined, if you just leave both of these blank, now you can go up to 3 months and then run the report. Before it was only 1 month at a time, but now you can run it for 3 months and it will allow you to do that. Oh, cannot be more than that. Yeah, so it does allow you to do up to 3 months. If you put in any of this, let's say you picked a student, you can go up to, once you pick a student here, it'll allow you to go for 6 months. So that's the combined report. But the combined report, if you haven't used it, it puts everything together. if you enter in MAXCapture directly, or if you upload, it puts all of those services together in one place. And then if I go to download reports, yeah, so this is the change. The process month was August, but generated, yeah, these dates are not right, but because it's a demo, so they just didn't update them. But when it'll show when exactly it was generated and when for which month it is. Okay, so it just made it a little bit more clear. And the 108 and 107 I already talked about. I don't think I need to go into the detail of those. Let me go back. I covered that. All right, so that's the 831 changes or enhancements that we already released into production. If you look at it now, you will see all the changes I just showed you. Now, for the October 1, there's more changes we're releasing. The biggest thing I'm going to be talking about is this new eval code. So I'm sure, Jennifer and Devin, they'll talk about this in depth, but we have the initial evaluations and re-evaluations. There's no more from October 1. It's just going to be eval. It's called just eval. And you can bill every 30 days. That's the rule that on the screen here. See, one service encounter, the code actually is called eval n. If you're doing an upload, it's going to be eval n like new. Because before we had an eval and a re-eval as codes, so we could not use either one. Up to 9:30, you can still use those codes. And if you try to, from October 1st, if you try to do a initial eval, system will give you an error message saying you cannot have, after this date, you cannot have eval, initial eval. But you can use this new code, eval n, and you can put the encounter. It can be billed every 30 days. IEP has to exist for that service date, and the MADAuth has to exist, but you don't need, the difference is today with the initial eval or the re-evals, we are looking for a health-related service to be in that IEP, not anymore. So this is a nice thing for the state. So this is really, I guess, more real what you guys are doing. So you have to have the IEP and the MADAuth has to exist, but inside the MADAuth, you don't need an authorization for a health-related service. You just have to have the eval box checked for that particular service. So if it's a speech, I can do evals, you have authorization, great, it'll go through. Okay, does that make sense? And then because of the PII, we basically removed the SSN. All states are doing this. So we basically got rid of the SSN from the student demographic screen, or we will be. And the new upload templates with this code will be published by October 1. The template itself hasn't changed a whole lot because it's a new code. You really need to know what that code is, right? So that's what we'll be publishing, the new updated templates. Okay, so this is coming up October 1. All right. Other things that we are working on is we are making the training videos a little bit better for you. We're using a new tool, and it's coming up. Just keep an eye out for it. Stephanie and the team is working very hard trying to get those. It takes a lot of effort and time, but we thought that's going to be very helpful for you all as we go forward. They're more interactive, nice videos. Contact management, I mean, lot of you have been asking for it. Again, we're working with DHS, trying to make that whole process better. I don't have any more details other than that. And then CMS guidance, Jennifer talked this morning, Devin talked. I mean, that is really the big thing coming up in the next year or two. All right. I think that's about it. I can open up for questions. I mean, these are all the questions and the survey. So we can open up for questions and sure.